Hi, it's Greg and Lucky.
And this is our podcast. If you don't catch us from 5 to 9, this is what you missed.
This conversation's been going on for some time, the idea of a 4-day work week, but it really is building some steam. 13,000 people were asked if we should ditch the 5-day work week and do 4 days with 10-hour days.
Right.
And almost all of us, like 3/4, say, yeah, let's do that. I'd go to 3 days and 12-hour days. 6 to 6. Monday to Wednesday.
We barely work 12-hour weeks, so I don't know.
A month. Yeah, and I sure, why not? Most people think they'd be just as productive or more productive. Just more smoke breaks on the 4-day work week. But yeah, I don't see why not. Why we can't go to that. And even, look at it as a 24-hour clock thing. I really believe, with the way we operate now, it doesn't even have to be daytime hours necessarily, depending on what your business does. If you have clients overseas or whatever, you got people working on the overnight shift. You can have a 24-hour clock, whatever it is, to make your business operate within those 4 days.
The one fear I have, there's a couple in this that would kind of hold me back from saying, yeah, go do it. Of course, it sounds fantastic and hard not to be down with the idea. I've heard a couple of companies that what they do is they work a few longer hours in the wintertime and then take Fridays off in the summer.
Right. Which
tends to make a little more sense to me only because, do you really need Fridays off in February?
Yes. Yes.
But, and there's so many more businesses. We're so connected now, and we've learned this now through working from home and all of the emails and online stuff that, is your company really going to shut things down for your day off? Or are you still going to be on the hook for checking or expected to check in and at least, not the idea even now that, the 5-day work week, that you are completely separated from work over the weekend is kind of lost for so many. Companies still send out emails on Friday afternoons and expect you to know that information on Monday morning.
Yeah, I listen. It all depends on what you do for a living. There are people who clock in on Monday and clock out Friday afternoon and don't think twice about it over the weekend. And then, there's others who, is it a job or is it a career? Sometimes there's that, thing as well, right? I mean, if you're really into it, look, I love what I do. So checking my emails over the weekend or whatever, I don't find it to be a hang-up or a problem or anything that gets in my way because my career is just a part of my life. But
there's so many people who feel that that's an obligation that they don't want to have. Right? And my weekend is my weekend. I've worked for it.
Sure.
Stay out of my house on the weekend. I don't want to have to check my email. Why should I be, why should I have to?
Well, you either have to because your employer kind of insists, or that's just your own insecurities.
Right.
If your employer says, okay, listen, here's your workbook, and one of the rules are I need you to check your email at least twice a day, Saturdays and Sundays, okay, you agree to that deal. But if you just do it because you're panicked that your boss is going to be on to you for something that you might have missed, well, you got to figure that out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just, listen, it all sounds great. It's just, even now, is there really an 8-hour workday, or are you expected to still kind of check the clock? Do you clock in and clock out? Are there still that kind of businesses where you clock in, clock out 9 to 5, and after 5 o'clock you're done and there's nothing going on? Or is it almost like when we talked about the highway yesterday? Yeah, okay, the speed limit's 100, but we'll creep over that a little bit. I think a lot of offices now are, it's an 8-hour workday, but we still expect you to check in.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. I haven't worked a 9 to 5 in quite some time.
No, I don't know any of this. I live in a completely different world. But I would just think that most companies, if they went to this 4-day work week, your Friday or Monday, whatever day was deemed to be the third day off, would just be like a Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
It's your day off now. You worked your 10 hours and the 4 days, and you're free to do as you wish. And if again, like this business, okay, it's 24/7. There's always something going on. Maybe there's people in this industry. It's the only industry we understand. So, yeah, maybe there's people who have to check their email on a regular basis because there's ongoing stuff. But there's also a lot of people in this building and in this industry who work Monday to Friday and then never think about it over the weekend.
Right.
It all just depends what your job is within these walls.
Would you rather have the Friday or the Monday, if that were the option?
I'll take a Wednesday. Let's really screw it up. There was a vote on the most popular dog breeds. 193 different breeds were in the vote.
Okay.
And Labs came out number one.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of them.
Yeah.
Goldens and brown, chocolate, black labs.
Speaking of golden retrievers, number 2. Alaskan Malamutes at 3. Shetland sheepdogs at 4. Border collies are number 5.
All right.
At the bottom of the list, the Chinese crested dogs. The Chinese cannot catch a break these days.
That's right.
That poor dog, bottom of the list. They also tend to dominate in the world's ugliest dog contest.
Okay.
So it's not a good time for anything Chinese. I do understand, though, the border collies are quite upset. They're pulling a Trump. They want to recount. They believe the vote was stolen.
Well, the border collies are stuck behind that wall is the problem.
That's right. Now, speaking of dogs, I think earlier this week or last, we talked about how adults have fewer close friends than they did a couple of decades ago. You know, as you age, your friends either, well, they move on with their lives or they pass away or whatever happens. We just don't keep in touch with them. But
we take breaks, right? You take time, raise a family, that kind of stuff, and then get back into it.
But many dog owners now say that they don't have a whole lot of human friends, but their dog is one of their best friends. And not just in the generic man's best friend sense. They say, yeah, one of my best friends.
Wow. Bold play.
Yeah, and they say, most dog owners say their dog qualifies as a best friend because they're always there. Well, yeah, because they're a dog. You see, from the dog's perspective, you're the food.
Right.
That's all you are to them. They show they love you so much because they just want the food. If you think in the back of your dog's mind, he's at home while you're out and he's wondering, I hope he or she is okay. I really am concerned about them emotionally. No, they don't care about you.
Well, but then you get these stories of dogs who call 911 or dogs who stop traffic because their owner's having a seizure. And there are emotional rescue dogs and therapy dogs.
It's all about the food.
There are dogs that help people who are blind or have need help. They are an amazing animal.
Listen, they realize if they ran away, they'd just have to find a new food source.
True.
They're always there because you feed them.
Right.
I think it's all about the food. Sure, they learn to do tricks and they learn to walk by your side. But again, it's only because they want the food. Right. They're very selfish that way. Others say their dogs are just great companions and very loving. Well, yeah, because they never argue with you. The great thing about, the thing about a dog and why I think so many of us love them is because, we yell and scream at them when we're mad and we get upset with them, but they always bound back.
Yes.
And so we think, oh, isn't this great? Because other humans won't take your crap the way your dog does. It's the only reason. This dog is amazing. I can treat it like a big pile of dog poop.
Right.
And it always comes back to me.
Well, the only problem, maybe the difference being, is that it feels it walks around leading you and you pick up its poop.
That's true.
So maybe it thinks every now and then, well, I'm the one that's in charge.
Yeah. I'm just suggesting if you really believe your dog is your best friend, you need to get out and meet people. I saw yesterday some photos of you at Winchester.
Yes.
With your 2 boys.
Yes.
Golfing.
Wow.
In that heat.
Yeah, there was a breeze, so it wasn't unbearable, but it was hot.
I'm starting to realize that you seem to really enjoy this fatherhood thing. You seem to, between the hockey and being on the bench and around them all the time for that, then taking them both golfing, not one at a time, and then the homeschooling and all of that, you really seem to like spending time with your children. What's that like?
Well.
I never really, I loved my boys, but I never really spent or enjoyed spending that much time with them.
Let me first clarify a couple of things. One, I mean, don't take the glorified, humble brag social media version of what's going on and interpret that to mean all things are rosy all the time. Two, the virtual school, I had nothing to do with. I mean, they did that on their own. The teachers, to their credit, did a phenomenal job of keeping them occupied and entertained. So that, other than supplying the equipment to do it, that wasn't me either. I really subscribed to Jerry D's kind of object of relationships, and it's all about points. And with family time, it's kind of the same thing. Putting in a little bit of time on a golf course, which is not really the end of the world for me.
No, you love it. That's true.
In order to buy time and some points for when I want to go on my own and do it. Is kind of the theory behind it all. Every now and then, take them out, and then when I go out and they complain about it, they can't come. I say, no, I took you already.
Yeah, and it works out good for you because you really love golf. But if there was anything that I even really, really enjoyed doing, if Maria had ever said, why don't you take both Daniel and David and do that with them for a few hours?
Right.
I would have stomped around like I was one of the kids. I got to spend time with them.
But a couple of good things. Good thing about golf is that you can play too, right? Like, it's not like I just got to take them and sit and watch as they do it.
Right.
I get to play as well.
Right.
And secondly, and thanks to the people at Winchester and Bruce's Golf Rewards, it's we're able to do it, and it's not overly expensive to do it as well. Golf's not a cheap sport to get into, but you get junior green fees, and Golf Ontario has their junior first tee program as well. It helps get in a little cheaper than that.
Oh, between your on ice time with them during hockey and golfing, it just seems like you spend too much time with those boys. Ariana Grande's doing something nice. She's teamed up with a group called BetterHelp to give away $1 million in free therapy. People will be matched up with a licensed therapist for one free month, and they'll get a discount off the second month. In an Instagram post, Ariana said, while acknowledging that therapy should not be for a privileged few, but something everyone has access to, and acknowledging that this doesn't fix that issue in the long run, I really wanted to do this anyway in hopes of inspiring you to dip a toe in to feel okay asking for help, and to hopefully rid your minds of any sort of self-judgment in doing so. So for her, for putting her money where her mouth is, I understand the first person in line, Pete Davidson. Still trying to get over her.
Well, and she had, an ex that took his life, right? Was that...
That's right. Some rap artist.
Yeah.
She recently got married, I think, as well. Jeff Garland, one of the cast members from the Goldbergs and also Curb Your Enthusiasm, thinks that Larry David has one more season left in him. Larry David is turning 74 on Friday. And Jeff Garland says that he thinks Larry will maybe do one more season. That's a maybe. He said Jeff said that Larry's in every single scene, working every day, having to be there at 6:30 in the morning. I don't know if physically he can do more than that, or let's just say another season. Although Jeff said 10 years ago the chances of seeing more seasons were about 50%, and that was 3 seasons ago. So it is so great, Curb Your Enthusiasm. If you've never watched it, it's one of those shows where you either love Larry David and his character, or you find him the most annoying human being on the planet.
Right.
But just the fact that they go in with like a skeleton of an idea for each episode, and it's like 90% improv.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
And they got a guy out of jail. Remember that story?
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
That documentary on Netflix?
1 in a Million, or Long Shot?
Long Shot, yeah.
Brilliant, yeah. I stumbled upon that one day, and then, told you about it. It was such a... You see Larry David walking by this guy. He was charged with murder, but he happened to be at an L.A. Dodgers game that day, the day of the murder.
When they were filming...
While they were filming,
Enthusiasm.
like 40,000 people in the stands, and his section is the section picked to shoot some Curb Your Enthusiasm scenes. Yeah, just crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Ed Sheeran and Courtney Cox have been friends since 2013. Whenever he's in L.A., he stays at her house.
Wow.
And he also uses her Alexa to secretly order X-rated gifts for her. So great. He was on with the Late Late Show with James Corden, and he admitted that one time when Courtney left the room, he ordered a GIMP mask. And when it arrived, Courtney had no idea where it came from, so he kept doing it. He said...
Oh, that's giving a lot of people some really bad ideas.
So terrific. He said, now when I go back there, I order her another GIMP mask. She has maybe like 12 of them now. I hide them in people's bedrooms so they'll go in the drawer and find a leather S&M mask. He added she had 2 people look at her piano to try and buy it, 2 absolute strangers going into her house that I found out about. So I left a couple of the masks on the piano. He is, as much as I'm not a huge fan of his music, every time I've seen him interviewed or he talks about anything, he's in that Yesterday movie. He really seems like a good dude, like a guy you'd want to have pints with.
He does.
Yeah.
And just, kind of a normal guy.
Yeah.
And I guess probably his upbringing, he, when he was growing up, he was kind of always that awkward kid he described. And so he's just always been kind of very humble in what he's done.
Yeah, he seems like a really
incredibly talented,
really good dude, yeah. 8 out of 10 of us don't allow smoking in our homes.
Wow.
It's almost double from 20 years ago.
In our own homes? Like us smoking in our own homes?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because I think that's true as well of more households where you'll see someone who smokes in the house or a smoker that lives in a house will not smoke inside their own home. They'll go out back or in the garage or whatever.
Stand on the porch. Yeah, I gave up that very enjoyable habit many, many decades ago now.
Did you?
A couple of decades, I guess.
Did you have kids when you were smoking?
Oh, yeah.
Did you smoke in front of them?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that as well where, parents who want to hide it.
Oh, it's ridiculous. They can smell it on you, and it's a great learning. I used to crawl into the crib with them and have a dart. Daniel and I, we'd share a dart. Before. He was a cranky to go to sleep, so I'd give him a DeMaurier in his bottle.
We talked about parenting earlier and seeing some signs now.
Oh, yeah. I remember I had an uncle who would run 1,000,000 miles to go have a cigarette behind a tree.
Right.
And he'd come back, and you could smell it on him. And his kids, they were like older. They would have, they were like 12, 13, whatever. They would have known.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I have another family member who she always smoked. To this day, she won't admit it. She's like a grown woman with her own kids who are also all growing up. She will not admit that she ever smoked.
I know a guy, we call him Bruton Butts because, basically he will go off and smoke and then douse himself in cheap cologne to try and mask it. And it smells worse.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I smoked on and off, mostly on from the time I was about 15 or so into my mid-30s, and I tried quitting a few times. But, yeah, I would... Because it was a learning curve, right? I'd say to the boys, listen, Daddy started something when he was a teenager. I was an idiot for doing it, but everybody, Grandma smoked and Grandpa smoked. We all did. It was something stupid we did. You can see Grandma and Grandpa have given it up, and I'm working on giving it up as well.
I had friends who started around like 12 or 13, like grade 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. They were starting to smoke. And I look now, and I got kids that age.
Oh, sure.
They couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't see many of them. Like out of all of Daniel and David's friends, none of them smoke cigarettes that I know of. I mean, they all smoke weed, but they don't smoke cigarettes.
Well, you see, this business is one that, for some reason, has been heavily smokers. I don't know whether or not people are trying to lower their voices or something, but even the young people who work in this industry are all out hanging out smoking. Wow.
Yeah. I remember a news director I worked with years ago. He would always suggest that. Get the rye and cigarettes in you so you can get the gravelly voice. That was the thing we did.
In some offices, maybe they just do it to get the breaks.
Perhaps. I mean, I remember we used to smoke in the control room, and it'd be like an opium den in there all the time, but... Yeah, it's if there was ever something, if doctors came out and said, it's really good for your eyebrow growth. If there was one thing I could find about cigarettes that I could get back to, it's really good for your earlobes. I'd be right back on the dart. So they say it's good for my earlobes. Right. I don't know. Anyhow, where it's thankfully a dying, very slow dying industry, much like the people who continue to smoke. Do you remember the name JonBenet Ramsey?
Yes.
Yes. She was
How long ago now?
Well, she was born in 1990. And she was, 5 or 6? So it would have been mid-90s when she died. And they never solved it, right? To this day, it was never solved, I don't believe.
No, the which one passed away? The mom, I think
the mom died of cancer, I think.
Right, is the dad still around?
I thought they always kind of had the finger pointed at the brother.
There was some, yeah. And I know there have been a couple of documentaries about it as well, too.
Yeah, it's an ongoing story. But anyhow, she was born on August 6th, 1990. Jennifer Lawrence was born August 15th, 1990. So John Benet Ramsey would have been a growing woman like Jennifer Lawrence at this
when
stage.
you put it in that perspective.
Yeah, crazy.
No, I remember one of the documentaries too, they were talking about some of the notes they did, finger writing, fingerprint and handwriting assessments and all sorts of stuff. But there was still a lot of questions that led to someone outside of the house being.
Yeah, crazy story. And certainly shone a light on those beauty pageants for children and how creepy and weird they can get. Yeah,
but then again, there were also cases from that around that time, like Elizabeth Smart, where they came back, right? And they found them eventually. So it's just an unbelievable, horrible situation.
When Sacha Baron Cohen is speaking in Kazakhstanian or whatever it might be when he's Borat, he's actually speaking Hebrew, which is intentionally ironic since Borat says so many anti-Semitic things, and he says it all in Hebrew. That second movie was actually pretty darn good. A lot of times it's tough to do a sequel.
Yes.
But he did a great job on that.
When you give it enough time in between, too, sometimes that helps. You jump back really quickly with a sequel, and it's still fresh in everyone's mind, the first one.
And Rudy Giuliani, not so much a fan.
No.
Half of all master's degrees people earn are in business or education.
Right, yes. Yeah, the MBA is popular.
There have only been 16 people who have ever won the EGOT. That's the Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. But only one person's been nominated for all four and never won a single one. Lynn Redgrave.
Ouch.
Is that actress? Yeah. Sahara means deserts in Arabic.
Okay.
So the Sahara Desert is the desert's desert.
Right.
Yeah. And finally, let's talk rabbits and their lovemaking. A guy brought 24 wild rabbits to Australia in 1859. I don't know why he did this, but he did. 24 wild rabbits he took to Australia in 1859. They multiplied so fast that in less than 70 years, there were 10 billion of them.
Wow.
They're reproducing at a rate of 18 to 30 for every single female rabbit per year.
And they've tracked it back to one guy?
I guess so.
It's kind of like this whole pandemic. If you think you're insignificant in the world, either, hang out with a bat or carry some rabbits into a country.
Now, in this fact, they say every single female rabbit. That means those female rabbits are single and very promiscuous. 18 to 30 kids a year, single, you dirty, dirty rabbit.
Rock Mornings with Craig Venn and Lucky. 94.9 The Rock.